It seems everyone, everywhere, is thirsty.
Gee, I wonder why. I had gotten roughly half of Code Vein done months ago, but then I kinda got sidetracked and now I'm starting over because I barely remember what happened so far anyway. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic world. Not long ago everything was fine and dandy until the Great Collapse. This thing basically skewered most of the major cities on the planet. All those thorns aren't just there for show, you know. And it brought about some monsters called the Horrors. Now, I'm not too sure what these Horrors look like, but it sounds like they were some pretty beefy boys because humanity had to create beings called Revenants to fight them. Revenants are basically sci-fi vampires. Scientists would put something called a boar parasite inside of people who were already dead, and they'd come back to life with special powers and whatnot. And they can regenerate so long as their core isn't targeted. Unfortunately, just like with a regular vampire, they need their daily hit of blood or they completely flip shit and mutate into these monsters called the Lost. Now when you start the game, after spending like 5 hours customizing your waifu, the Lost are pretty much the biggest issue. Blood is running short and things aren't looking so good. As an added kick in the balls, the area that you guys are in is surrounded by a weird mist called the miasma. This makes the Revenants even thirstier than normal and they gotta wear face masks to stay safe. God damn, this game aged like fine wine, huh? If they'd have delayed it another few months, they probably could have thrown in some face masks as a pre-order bonus. You soon meet a guy called Louis who's researching blood beads. These are basically blood fruits that will quench a Revenant's thirst just as well as human blood, and when he finds out you have the power to just plant them and clear up the miasma, he insists that you stick with him and his group of friends. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So here's the question that's probably on everyone's minds. Is this game actually Anime Souls? Maybe? I don't know. This is actually the first Souls game that I've played for more than a couple hours. Dark Souls 3, dropped it after the first boss. Nioh, ironically I dropped that as soon as I got to Japan. I will say this, the game is hard, you'll still die a lot, but from what I've seen it is more forgiving than its cousins. Mostly because you get to travel with a buddy and they can help to cover for your mistakes. They don't get nerfed just because they're your teammates, they do roughly the same amount of damage you would, and if you get KO'd they have a small window of time to heal you up. And they have most of the same skills that you would learn once you get their blood codes. Oh yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about, the blood codes. So instead of picking a class at the beginning and having to stick with it, you can change your class whenever you want. All the other Revenants in the game are stuck with just one, but since your character has a fractured one, they can have theirs and everyone else's. That means that if you go through half the game knocking Lost upside the head with a strength build, and then you change your mind, you can just switch over to a magic one. Then you're free to chuck fireballs from a safe corner while your partner does all the grunt work. At least until the boss kills your buddy and then you realize you're gonna have to actually learn the fight now that you have its undivided attention. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the game for now. I'll try and beat it, but I can't promise that this one will get an in-depth review. Regardless, feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed it, sub to the channel if you want to hear me rattle on about JRPGs or other Japanese games I happen to come across, and I will see you all again very soon.